Interface Tour. Today's webinar is entitled Identifying and Acquiring New Skills, the Key to Career Growth and Advancement. The presenters are Deb Hunt and David Grossman. Deborah Hunt is a strategic knowledge professional and principal of Information Edge, which specializes in value-added research, knowledge services, enterprise content management, and library creation and automation. Deb is currently SLA President-elect, and her presidency theme is Transform Knowledge and Expertise into Strategic Value. David Grossman serves as History Room and Reference Librarian for the Mill Valley Public Library in California, where he's currently constructing a digital archive with a workforce of 25 volunteers. He has 30 years of experience in a variety of traditional and non-traditional library and information professional roles. David has often been tapped as a motivational speaker on alternative career opportunities for librarians. I'm now happy to introduce Deb and David.
Thank you, Eileen. I want to add my welcome. Thank you all for attending. And I just want to mention this is the first in a series of 4 webinars that Deb and I will be giving through InfoPeople, all of them on career growth and advancement. And in the next hour, we're going to talk specifically about critical skills. And we're going to go through many of the critical skills that we see out there that are in great demand today and discuss why skills are so important for career advancement. Deb?
Okay, I want to welcome everybody as well. I have a quote here, and I'm just going to read a small part of it. We librarians or information professionals definitely aren't what we once were. If we play our KM or knowledge engineer cards right, there are very few areas in any organization in which we won't have significant contributions to make. So I just want to remind us all that our roles have changed and we must change with them. That will ensure our continued success in our chosen field. So why are we doing this webinar? We see our colleagues struggling, trying to figure out where to go. We know they desire to change but aren't sure how, and we know there are a lot of opportunities outside the library world for us and for our skill sets. We want to share our experiences with you because we've had some success in this area, and we also want to provide hope, inspiration, and new ideas so that you can move forward and feel successful too.
Great. So the first thing we're going to do actually is take a little poll, and we want you to check off all of these that might apply to you. So take a look at those situations. Let's see, and to open the poll here. Sorry, I'm find the right button. Let's see.
We're also learning, so this is part of what we all do.
Okay. And
so while David is trying to get the polling software to work, if you'll take a look at these questions and think about where you're at and where you're going, and then think about what your answers to these questions will be. And as soon as David brings up the poll, we'll be able to have you go ahead and sign in.
Yes.
Click on poll 1.
Yes, I just did that. Okay.
We're still seeing pre-webinar 1.
Oh, do I need to push apply for that?
Probably.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, are you on the tab that says poll 1?
Yes. Yes, I am. Let's see.
And you click open poll?
Open poll. Let's see. Sorry, I'm not. It's not.
Opening.
Not giving me an open. I can't seem to check the box. It's not doing anything.
Well, do we want to move on and let Chuck play with it?
Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can, it would be great. Thanks, Chuck.
And then somebody also suggested typing our responses into chat, which is a great idea, except we'd like to see the numbers on a poll because that'll give us percentages, so that's why we're doing it that way.
Okay, great.
So this is one of the things that happens to all of us is that technology works great when it works, and other times we kind of have to do a tap dance while we're getting ready for it to work. So I think, David, rather than spend much more time, we can go ahead and let Chuck, you're working on the poll, right?
You should be open now.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I'm still not seeing it because I said we could go ahead and move on and come back to the poll. All right. I don't see it yet.
Okay, well, that's because I changed me to the polling coordinator here. But I can see that there are quite a few people who have answered it.
Well, good.
About 90 finished.
Okay, great.
Let me go ahead and start to close it here.
All righty. So I guess everybody else can see it but us.
WebEx is just being a little slow here in closing it. Should see it here in about 5 seconds.
Well, we're closing in on 200 attendees, so that might be slowing it down a bit too.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting, I hope that all of you will think about how you felt when you were laid off. I have been laid off, and it's not a fun thing to do. But what I did was I leveraged that experience to move on to do other things. And I hope, even though it was very sad to have that happen, I hope that all of you will think about where you can go next. And instead of looking too far to the back, we'll look more to the future and where you can go as a springboard from that. So do we have poll results? I'm not seeing them.
I do. Let me read you the numbers out. 17% have never been laid off.
Okay.
4% are unemployed now. 32% are stuck in a rut. 27% have seen someone else get their dream job, and 51% are searching for opportunities to break out.
Okay.
Great.
We've come to the right place. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you, everybody, for responding to that. Now I see the poll. Okay, great. All right, so let's see. The agenda.
Okay, so the agenda for today. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk a lot about skills today because having the right skills is primary for the primary key for success for career expansion or advancement. And we're going to spend much of this first webinar discussing the many skills we see as most critical, most sought after, and most in demand. We're then going to show you how to conduct your own self-assessment of the skills that you possess and those that you don't. And that's really the first step in developing your own plan for acquiring the skills you need that you don't have today. We'll cover developing your plan and acquiring new skills in the next webinar. And then we're going to provide you with a number of proven strategies or tactics that are useful in acquiring new skills that you cannot get in your current job. And then finally, we'll give you a quick preview of what we're going to do in our next webinar in August.
Okay, so we have another poll. And Chuck, if you can get this one up, that would be great.
I think it would be great if Chuck, if you could
David,
do this.
I made you the polling coordinator again. You want to give me another try?
Okay. All right.
So anyway, here are the excuses while they work on that. Okay, poll 2,
right, let's see.
Here are the excuses that I hear. You know, I don't go to professional development events or don't go to conferences because my employer won't pay. I'm so busy that I don't have time. So there you go. It's come up. So go ahead and fill out that poll, please.
Right.
What applies to you? All the ones that apply to you. And we'll leave that open for what? Another 30 seconds or so.
Results are still coming in, so.
Great, okay. And I think I hear this all the time from people, so that was why we wanted to do this, because we wanted to find out what you felt your excuse was.
Okay. Still results are coming in.
Okay, great. Well, we have over 200 people now, 212, 213. Okay.
Okay. Why don't we cut it off in about 10 seconds or so, 15 seconds?
Great. I can't wait to see what everybody has to say.
Okay.
David, as soon as you close it, it'll give you an additional 20. So.
Okay, there it goes.
Okay, so that's good to know. So we can close it even a little bit earlier.
All right.
All right, so it should come up pretty quick. So we're going to
and
talk
it's
about
still saving it here.
All right.
So, yeah, there's definitely some excuses are more popular than others. That's for sure. Okay.
You can see the results. I guess. Okay.
All right, and
there
this should make it
wow.
accessible.
Okay. Who has time to look for a job? My library won't pay. I was trying to say, I'd like to see the percentages here. Let's see.
Can you see them?
There we go. Yes. Okay. So it looks like I don't have time. That's one of
the
biggest
big one.
excuses, or who has time to, look when I'm at work. And then the other is that my employer won't pay for me. And then the other ones is can't do professional development at work. I'm out of work. That's good. That's not very many. So unemployed. So that's good. All right. So after all that work that you did, I'm going to tell you there are no valid excuses. I hear these excuses all the time. And I have to tell you, as somebody who's self-employed, I pay for all my own professional development. So I'm sorry, but I'm not very sympathetic about the first one that your library won't pay, because I won't get on my high horse. But my thing is that we have to invest in ourselves or others won't invest in us. So I hear these excuses all the time, but we really need to put these excuses aside, because only then can we move forward.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to give you a whole barrage of different skills. And these are the skills that we believe would give you the greatest edge over your competition, so very important.
Okay. Sorry, we're shuffling through my skills here. Okay, so often we hear about the skills we need to acquire, but not why we should acquire them. And here are some really good reasons about why we'd want to acquire skills. So this is what it's all about. We can give all the excuses we want, but we really need to satisfy job requirements. We need to quantifiably employers are looking for what we bring to the table, whether we're already employed somewhere and we want to move up, or whether we want to move out into other jobs. And so we have to show how our skills are transferable. We can command more money. And also, not only do we grow professionally, but we also grow personally, which is really important for personal satisfaction. So we're going to start with our computer and technical skills. And I just want you to remember that no one expects you to be an expert in all these skills we're going to go through. We have about 33 of them. But you need to know enough so that you can talk intelligently about them and know where to go for more information to get up to speed, be that a colleague, continuing education, or reading something. David.
Great. Thanks, Deb. So the first skill that we've listed here under computer and technical skills is digitization. And I've heard this named as the hottest ticket in town today, and I totally agree. This is so true, and digitization is happening in many different library settings, including public and academic libraries. The new technology has made digitization extremely inexpensive. Scanners are cheap, and digitizing vast collections of documents or images is now within the reach of even the smallest library, business, or organization. And then further, you have programs like Photoshop and Acrobat Professional that make it easy to enhance and reformat digitized documents and images. So with costs so cheap, many organizations are seeking to digitize collections that they've held for many years that were impractical to digitize until now. And these types of collections include things like photographs, maps, audio and videotapes and films, special collections of documents such as handwritten letters that could be 100 years old, meeting minutes, contracts, property deeds, receipts, government and official records, research papers, legal briefings, laboratory notebooks, and so much more. And so many organizations are searching for someone to manage or implement their digitization project. And if you can acquire this skill and gain some experience with digitization, a whole new world of job opportunities will be open to you. The second skill that we want to talk about is electronic indexing, archiving, and metadata. We've kind of lumped all these together. They all go hand in hand with digitization. And digitization, of course, is a wonderful invention, but often just digitizing a document is not enough to unlock the potential contained in your new electronic library. Digital documents or archives usually must be organized and indexed or properly described with the addition of metadata to make them fully accessible and useful. And as librarians and information professionals, these are skills we actually already possess. We understand the concepts of indexing, classifying, cataloging, and the value of online searching. So being able to apply an existing standard scheme of electronic indexing or to develop a new scheme applicable to a new collection can be a very critical skill for career advancement. And it's all about describing content, developing hierarchical schemes, working with authority lists, deciding on what fields to use and what goes into those fields. So you might see a prospective employer advertising for somebody who's familiar with standards like the Dublin Core or METS, which is the Metadata Encoding and Transmission Standard, or you may be called upon to manage a homegrown or develop a homegrown scheme depending on the nature of the collection. Deb?
Okay, so David described developing hierarchical schemes and working with authority lists. We know how to do that. And taxonomy is the next skill here, and that's the classification of an organization's data, information, content, and expertise into a hierarchical structure. A taxonomy is the terms that you use to describe a resource or asset. We all know about Library of Congress classification, or the MESH, medical subject headings that the National Library of Medicine has. Those are taxonomies. We just call them subject heading lists. And we may have to build taxonomies from scratch depending on the collection that you are describing. And I've done that before, and it's a bit daunting, but we can do that. And the last one on this slide is document management, which is the process of managing documents through their life cycle from inception through creation, review, storage, and dissemination, all the way to their destruction. And then on this next slide, I want to talk a little bit about ECM, or Enterprise Content Management. This is the strategies, the methods, and tools used to capture, manage, store, preserve, and deliver content and documents related to an organization's processes. So one of the key things here is work processes or workflow, which is part of managing information. So ECM tools and strategies allow for the management of an organization's structured and unstructured information wherever that information exists. So we know how to organize information. It's just called different things depending on where we are in the information realm. The next one we're familiar with, knowledge management or knowledge services, and that's the process through which organizations generate value from their intellectual and knowledge-based assets. Most often, generating value from such assets involves codifying what employees, partners, and customers know and sharing that information among those employees, departments, and even with other companies in an effort to devise best practices. And if you want to know more, Guy St. Clair is the guru on this, and also CIO.com is a great place to find out more. David.
Okay, so the next one we've listed here is records management. And with the ease of digitization, it's causing many organizations to convert their internal documents and other records to electronic format. And they need to organize and manage all of those internal e-documents, including email messages. So records management is defined as the systematic control of records throughout their life cycle. Records management comes with a whole set of rules and legal issues governing the management and eventual disposal of these internal documents. And learning the language and principles of records management can open up vast new opportunities for librarians and information professionals. More and more documents, next one is digital assets management. More and more documents are now born digital, and managing an organization's digital assets has also become a discipline unto itself. And to summarize all of these different areas that Deb and I have talked about, they're all about digital document or document management, and so digitizing and managing special collections of information, building and managing archives, records management, digital assets management, and I'm going to even throw in managing museum collections in this. I like to describe these as parallel worlds for anybody who's a Star Trek fan. Parallel worlds are very similar with core characteristics, but they all have different rules, customs, and practices, but they all have one thing in common. They all deal with managing different types of information or collections. And again, librarians and information professionals already possess many of the basic skills that underlie each of these areas. All you need to do is to learn the specific language, rules, and best practices associated with any of these areas, and you already possess the fundamentals to expand your career into one or more of these, into these parallel worlds. And as librarians, we're all familiar with ALA and SLA and the organizations that we belong to. But if you are going to the archive world, there's the Society of American Archivists. For records managers, there's ARMA International, which is the the Association of Records Managers and Administrators. And all of these are places to explore and identify new job opportunities. So if you're just looking in the old familiar places where libraries post traditional jobs, you're missing a great opportunity to expand and advance your career.
And at the end of the slide deck, we'll have some association sites, URLs, that you'll want to look at to see where there are opportunities and also opportunities to get new skills for free sometimes.
Absolutely. Great. And so more computer and technical skills. Developing finding aids and pathfinders is another one that we see as very important. As more collections are digitized and put online, the need for creating good finding aids and pathfinders becomes increasingly important. And in this area, I see many job descriptions with employers looking for someone familiar with the Encoded Archival Description, or EAD, which is a set of international standards maintained by ELSI and the Society of American Archivists, for example. And this is, again, is another area where your existing training and skill set as a librarian can be easily leveraged to take on a job that involves creating finding aids or pathfinders. Deb?
Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about web design, and I can hear people groaning. I used to be a web project manager, actually, and it's interesting that I have forgotten a lot of that because I haven't done it for several years. But what's important to remember here is we may not need to build a website from scratch. Many of us will not need to do that, but we do need to know enough to make updates and edits, because whether we're using ILS software or other software or overseeing an intranet or internet site, we need to be able to make simple changes to update content. And so it's just important to do that. And again, what I said at the beginning of this part of our presentation, you do not need to know all of this inside out. It's just being aware of skills. And then the next one is close and dear to my heart. What is your presence on LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook? Do you blog? What is your brand? You may not think that you have a brand, but if you are out there on social networking sites, you certainly do. And believe me, employers and others who wish to network with you will certainly look at what your brand is. David.
Okay. And for our last computer or technical skill, we've listed 21st century cataloging. Now, people have been predicting the demise of cataloging for decades. Ever since ELSI and OCLC began e-cataloging everything. For most standard library collections, cataloging has become little more than a clerical task. That's what happens at my library. Basically, we have people that just extract records that somebody else has cataloged and upload them to our OPAC. But if you're in a library or archive or other setting that may be dealing with unique or non-traditional materials, original cataloging is alive and well. Where I'm working right now in the history room at the Mill Valley Public Library, we're actually creating oral histories, brand new oral histories to the world, publishing scrapbooks and volumes of historical information, and cataloging original photographs or boxes of historic family letters, for example. And if you're creating those types of new works that are unique to your organization and unique to the world, ELSI and OCLC probably won't be useful to you. You'll definitely need to possess and exercise the proper cataloging skills to process these non-conventional items. And that's what we mean by 21st century cataloging. Deb?
And I'd just like to add something. This morning before we started this webinar, I was listening in a bit to another webinar. I believe it was an SLA one. It was the Semantic Web and Web 3.0. And the presenter actually addressed this exact issue. He said, we need catalogers. We need people who know how to catalog, that know the principles of cataloging. They're not going to just be cataloging, copy cataloging and traditional content that we may think of, books and journals and things like that. But this is to catalog and index content that's part of the semantic web. So that's another place for us to move into a new area of expertise. Okay, now we're going to move on to beyond reference skills. And the first one here, I just want to remind us that we need to align with the mission and goals of our organizations, our users, or our clients, because this empowers us to deliver the strategic knowledge they need to do their work and to thrive. This is an essential skill that we need especially in this economy. David.
Okay. So we've also listed here results-driven problem solving as one of those beyond reference skills. And reference, as many of us who were taught, who went to library school a long time ago, it's changing fast. It's no longer just answering the reference questions. You can't be successful doing that. We must go beyond reference. In today's world, it's no longer good enough to just provide the information and just walk away. Organizations or end users in public or academic libraries are increasingly seeking someone who can go beyond providing information. And they expect you to provide solutions to their business, technical, or even personal problems. And that means asking and understanding the big picture and the problem they are trying to solve. It's no longer, give me all the articles about making widgets. Today's question is, how can our company make the best widgets on the market? And for an example, for a public library, I mean, I work at the reference desk, and I just got one last week where somebody, a lot of people come up and they're just asking for books about travel, for example, and I had somebody who basically said, I can find the book. I'm going to Italy, I'm going to Sicily, and I want to take the bus between Palermo and Syracuse. Can I do that? How do I do that? Can I get a schedule? How do I buy a ticket? And that kind of question is going beyond reference, providing an entire solution in the sense of being a travel agent for that person. So it's all about playing an essential role in providing a critical piece of the solution to a major problem faced by an individual or organization, no matter what type of library you're in. Deb?
Okay. And so following right on the heels of that is the value-added solutions. If we provide or propose solutions or indicate trends in our analysis or any work that we do, we contribute positively to the bottom line and become an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur. So if you're in an organization where you're an employee, you can still be an intrapreneur. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb and try something new and suggest ideas that will make your workplace or your institution a better one. Okay, so we're going to go on now to research and analysis and beyond reference skills. So following right on the heels of value-add solutions is research and analysis. Gone are the days when we hand our users or our clients a Google-like list of search results. We need to provide analysis of what we find and pass it on to our users. This empowers them and it empowers us and makes us invaluable. The second one, CI, or competitive intelligence. Like strategic knowledge, CI empowers our users or clients to know what the competition is up to. We must be top of mind for the C-suite. So this is if we work in an institution of some sort, profit, not for profit, or for profit, meaning the C-suite here like the CEO, the CFO, that sort of thing. We need to be the source of the intelligence, that they aren't going to Google or going to an IT person, but they know that we are the ones who provide vetted, current, accurate information. David.
Okay. And for the final beyond reference skill here, we've listed thinking outside the box. Now, of course, we've all heard this one before, and it's such a simple concept, but it's really so true. And thinking outside the box requires continually asking yourself, is there anything we should be doing differently now that we're not currently doing? How can we improve the processes or perform existing functions better? And I'm not just talking about within your library. If you're within a larger setting, you really want to be looking with an eye towards improving the processes across your entire organization. So very important beyond reference skill. Deb?
Okay, so now we're going to have a poll, our poll number 3, and David, I hope you can get that up. And this is what skills we would like you to add. We've just talked about some beyond reference skills, and what we'd like you to do is be able to mark the ones that you need. And there, I see it, so that's great. So go ahead and
I'm getting better at this.
Okay. So click away, everybody. We're up to 238 participants, so it may take a little bit. Okay. And while we're
results
doing
are
that,
still pouring in.
All
Deb?
right. So Angela had a question. She said, is this program only for librarians, or can this apply to pages looking to move up? And I'll just tell you that most of my clients do not know I have a library degree because it limits their perception of what I can do. They're looking for skills. I do tell them eventually I have a library degree, and they are often very shocked to learn that because they have a stereotypical image of what librarians can do or library staff. So I think the sky is the limit, but we have to invest the time and money in ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to give you 15 seconds more, and then we'll close the poll.
Okay, great. I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say. And as we go on through the workshops, parts 2 through 4, we will work with you to see how to provide these. And also in part 1 today, too, we're going to talk about that. Add to your skill set.
Okay. Can you see
right.
the poll results now?
Yes. Okay.
It's pretty even out there.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is good. All right. So thank you, everybody. And it looks like there's a lot of skills that we would like to increase. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do that. So now we're going to move on. Wait, though, we're going to do it through business and management skills next. Okay.
Okay,
David.
Great. Okay. So talking about business and management skills, we think they're very important. Now, you don't need to have an MBA, but you need to be able to think like a business person, and you need to be able to speak the language of a business person. And the first skill we've listed here is marketing and sales. We believe this is a critical skill that cuts across all industries, roles, and jobs. And what we're talking about here is being able to package and promote your value, whether you are in a corporate, public, academic library, or any other setting. You need to be able to take a proactive role and demonstrate why your project should have top priority. The second skill we've listed here is people management, and that's all about motivating and delegating, and it's about feeling confident and letting go. Many people are uncomfortable delegating, but you can accomplish so much more if you delegate and get others to do the work. Volunteer recruiting and management is another one that I've listed, and especially now in a world where downsizing and budget cuts have become a fact of life for most organizations. I've been able to extend my workforce by utilizing volunteers. I have no budget to hire people, but I have more than 25 volunteers who are either docents or student interns or even practicing librarians who are looking for something to volunteer. And by doing that, I've been able to really do so much more. And so learning how to find, recruit, and manage volunteers to extend your workforce at no additional cost can be a really valuable business skill. Deb?
Okay, and your organization will thank you as well. So developing strategic planning and policies. You know, if you don't know where you are going, you won't get there. We must set a mission, goals, and objectives that align with those of our organization, and we must revisit them frequently to make sure they are still relevant, update them, and then evaluate how we are doing at meeting or exceeding them. And I know probably many of you are thinking, oh my gosh, just one more thing to add to my plate. But you know what? If we don't do this, we're not going to have jobs and we're not going to move up. Okay, David.
Okay, so we've also listed financial budget management here, and you know, as you move up the career ladder, constructing and managing a budget is critical. You need to be able to live within your means. You need to show that you're fiscally responsible. You need to demonstrate why you need money. And it's good to be a profit center if you can, or at least not be a cost center. Developing a sound financial plan can be the difference between success and failure. Deb?
Okay. So we must be clear on how we contribute to the ROI, or return on investment, of our organizations or with our clients, and how much we can do for them outside the realm of our traditional roles. That's what David was just talking about, you know, being top of mind with the, you know, being a profit center, show you are fiscally responsible, then communicate all these things that we've been talking about. And this is very true whether you are in a for-profit or a not-for-profit organization. Now, the next one is near and dear to my heart. I am passionate about what I do and about our profession. I use public speaking and presentations to share that passion with my colleagues, my clients, to network and to get work and recognition for my skills. You can do that too. David.
Okay, and we've also listed project management here as another essential business skill, and again, this one cuts across all jobs, organization types, and both in the private and the public sector. And this is being able to manage a project from start to finish, being able to set and achieve goals, and manage a project efficiently and cost effectively while documenting what you've done. And some final additional business skills here. Deb, sorry.
Okay, no, you're first. You go ahead.
So that's okay. Okay, so we've also listed effective writing down here. Being able to write and communicate well is essential in any environment. Poor writing at best won't convey your message, and at worst it makes you look incompetent. Deb? Okay,
so proposals. You know, this can be a good career or part of a current job. Why? If you can bring money into your organization or in for a client, you are perceived as invaluable. And then the last one here, meeting and event planning. You know, a painless way to learn this is this art is to volunteer in a professional association for the programs or hospitality committees. I bet some of you are already doing that. You will learn how to plan meetings and events, which can also add to your skill set.
Okay, so now we have barraged you with so many different skills to consider. And next we're going to show you how to assess your skill sets today and the first step basically in getting to a plan of acquiring new skills. Deb?
Okay, so what we have here is we don't have a handout for you, but what we're hoping you'll do after this workshop is take your handout and look at all the skills that we've gone through. And then, oops, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. No, sorry about that. And then what we'd like you to do, so just make a chart like this, either do it by hand or in an Excel spreadsheet, and create all the skills down the left, and then across the top put your the different levels of expertise. And then this is what your spreadsheet could look like. And of course, this would be much longer than 2 or 4. Well, we got 6 or 7 skills there, but you could have all the skills, and then assess where are you at along the spectrum of these things, of these different skills. Okay? All right, next.
Great. So now we're going to talk specifically about strategies for acquiring new skills, because I'm sure you're all wondering, well, how do I get these skills if I'm not getting them on my current job today? So the first area that we're going to talk about is reading, taking classes, or webinars like this one. And these are all great ways, of course, to learn about new skills and to acquire new skills. And when you talk about webinars, you know, we all know about the specific ones that are offered by the different professional organizations like InfoPeople or ALA or SLA, for example. But many vendors also offer free webinars or free lunches. I'm always getting invitations to go to these different things, and they can be very valuable. Going to a vendor webinar or vendor session, yes, it's a sales pitch, but it really gives you the perspective and may give you something new that new tool or new product that you haven't used before that might be useful in a job that you apply for. So it's always good to attend those types of webinars. And in addition, they're great places to be able to network and meet other people. So you might learn about other opportunities or find someone who might be able to use your skills. So one of the great ways. Deb?
Okay, so I want to talk about writing and blogging. Writing for your library events or a newsletter and your professional association publications is a wonderful way to get better at writing. Editors are always looking for contributions and will welcome something that you offer to write. Or if you don't want to do a lot of writing, be an editor and encourage others to write. If you don't want to start a blog, but you want to be heard and seen as an expert, ask and answer questions on LinkedIn. There are so many groups there, and there's great conversations going on, and I challenge you to get a LinkedIn profile. And then the last one here is the one I teach also in a library technology program, and my students know that my byword is networking. Get out there in person and online. Talk to people. You know, we're so lucky today that we have so many avenues of ways to communicate both virtually and in person. So are you on LinkedIn? Do you post and answer questions, as I noted above? Are you active on listservs? If you're not, start lurking and then start answering questions. You know stuff that you can share with people, and people will begin to see you as an expert. So next we're going to move on to strategies for acquiring new skills. We talked about why you need to get new skills, all the different skills. Now we're going to talk about, okay, so you've got all this list of skills. How do you get these new skills? The first one, I think, is one that is a great one that we can give and take. We can find a mentor or be a mentor. Is there someone that you admire that you'd like to learn from? You know, finding a mentor can be as easy as asking, and some professional associations have more formalized mentoring programs that you can sign up for if you are a member. Or be a mentor, and you will learn so much while contributing to our profession. David.
Okay, great. And the last two, I'm going to talk about these both together here, volunteering and internships. I think these are the most important and the most useful for acquiring new skills when you don't have other options available So I want you to just remember, if you take one thing away from this webinar today, that volunteering and internships can be really great tools to acquire the new skills. Of course, I'm biased since I bring on board and hire a lot of volunteers and interns. But many job seekers that I come across complain that employers are looking for someone who has a certain type of experience, and how can you get that experience if no one will hire you? So it's kind of a catch-22 situation. Well, I'll tell you, volunteering and internships is that's the way to break out of this vicious cycle. By volunteering, you can acquire new skills and practical experience that you cannot get elsewhere. And volunteering can also fill in the gaps in your resume when you're between jobs. And again, I have no budget, but I've got more than 25 volunteers. I've got docents and interns and librarians all working for me. You know, many are practicing librarians and looking to learn new skills that they can't get anyplace else, like the digitization, the electronic indexing, original cataloging, etc. And when your resume says that you've had experience working on a live digitization project, a real-life project in the real world, it doesn't much matter whether you were paid or not, because you've done that job and you know how to do that job the next time someone asks for that experience. So many organizations with limited hiring budgets are more than happy to bring on board volunteers. And you don't have to wait for somebody to advertise for a volunteer position. You can find an organization that interests you and go talk to the librarian or whoever's in charge there and see if they want volunteers. And very often they would be delighted to have volunteers. Mid-career internships, I've listed this as something that I think is very important. Internships are not just for students anymore. Many professionals are taking on mid-career internships to acquire new skills and break out of their current limitations. Now, many employers list their internships with library schools. We list ours with San Jose State since it's right down the road from us. And but there's no reason why a practicing librarian can't fill an internship. And you can go on these websites for different schools and see what internships are available. You know, here in Northern California where I am, there aren't enough student interns to go around. And I'm competing with hundreds of other organizations that are listed on San Jose's Library Science School website for interns. And so I'd be just as enthusiastic about bringing on a volunteer practitioner as I would about acquiring a new student intern. So again, very important for new skills.
And I'll just add something there. When I used to work, I worked at the Exploratorium, a museum of science, art, and human perception for 14 years in San Francisco. And I had interns there, and most of them were in library school, but not all of them. And I have hired them because I know the kind of work they can do when I've had consulting projects that needed indexing or cataloging. So you never know where jobs are going to come from. And also I've served as a reference for all of them as well. So do think about doing that, trying to, even if you have 1 or 2 hours a week. And then I was thinking about one other thing about strategies for acquiring new skills. If you have children or you volunteer in scouting or PTA or something like that, you can also learn a lot of skills like budgeting if you're a treasurer. So remember, those are important ways also to acquire new skills. All right, so we're going to go on now, and we're going to do another poll. So David, if you can get this poll up on strategies for acquiring new skills, and there it is. So if you guys could fill those out, that would be great, and we'll see what people say.
Yeah, which of these would you want to do once you leave this webinar? How will you acquire new skills?
Okay, so this is exciting. I can't wait to hear what people are going to say.
Results are pouring in. Okay.
We should have some of that music like they have on one of the game shows.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll take 15 more seconds here.
All right. Can't wait. All righty. And I'll just throw in something about networking. I would say probably 90% of my work comes from networking. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've had one client who said they found me on my website, and I have another potential client I'm working with who also found me through my website. So networking is really important.
Yeah, I'll second that. Just about every job I've ever had has come from networking. Very important. Okay, so let's put the results up here.
Okay, so here's the things that, okay, great. So some of you are already doing this by being at the webinar today.
That's right.
Networking, great. A lot of people are doing that. Okay, so mid-career internships. And we understand that if you're working full-time and have family, that internships and volunteering can be hard to do. But again, even doing it, you don't have to do it for 5 years, you know. Find somewhere where you can do it for 3 months even and a few hours a week, and you can get so much out of that. And the institution that you volunteer for will also get something out of it, and you get something to add to your resume and new references for when you do apply for jobs. Okay, so we're going to move on now to questions, and I see that there are already a couple over here. Eileen, I guess, do we do all the questions through the chat, or do we do them verbally as well?
You'll actually read the questions in text chat and then answer them.
Okay. So how do we show, so Tiffany asked, how do we show these skills on a one-page resume or cover letter in order to get to the interview? Well, David, you want to answer that one because the next one's specifically for me.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I've been reading the list.
Okay, how do we show these skills on a one-page resume cover letter in order to get to the interview?
Okay. Wow. Well, putting it together on one page. I don't know that you necessarily have to put it on one page. You know, especially now that things are electronic, most people don't really know how many pages there are. But I think, you know, you can list your skills first, and we're going to actually talk about how to do that in the next webinar and go through some resume writing tricks that we think would get you to the top of the pile. But I'm not so sure that you need to have a one-page webinar. Excuse me, a one-page resume.
Well, and it depends. I just got done this last spring teaching a job hunting class, and it does depend on your experience and what you have. And my resume looks more like a CV, you know, what you would see in academia, but seldom do I show anybody my resume. My clients don't usually ask for one. They want to know what jobs and work I have done. But if you do, I do keep a resume up to date because I have had clients ask for it, and it is not one page long. But, you know, I'm old as dirt, so that may be why. But what you know, if you can't fit it on one page, don't worry about that. Let it spill over. Have it be double-sided. It's okay to do that. And again, it'll depend on how long you've been doing your work in our industry. Okay, so I hope that helps, and I'm happy to talk more to you, Tiffany, about that. But part two, as David said, we're going to give you some great tips on ways to really quantify what you do and make you stay ahead of the pack and show that your skill set. So Teresa asked, how many hours a week does Deb spend at work and doing all this other stuff relating to developing skills, networking? How much time does she have for her personal life? Actually, I have a lot. I play tennis. I'm an avid tennis player. I walk every morning with the dogs. And my husband is very understanding. We're both self-employed, so that probably tells you a little bit about the craziness that we have. But I have found that I do not, I think at first when I was getting into LinkedIn and that sort of thing and tweeting, that it was kind of this separate realm, but right now it's completely folded in to all the things that I do. So if I'm reading a great article, I use Hootsuite, which is really easy to use and helps you to tweet and throw things onto LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you want it. You can schedule those tweets and those posts. It's free. TweetDeck is another one. And if I see something I think my colleagues need to know this or my potential clients or clients need to see this, I pop it right up or I schedule it so they don't all go out at once. So I can have tweets scheduled for a week ahead of time and go on vacation and nobody knows I'm gone. So I have learned to fold that right into all the work that I do. So I'm continually learning. Like I said this morning, I was listening to I don't know if I should tell you this. I was listening to a semantic web workshop while I was hemming a pair of pants because I'm leaving to go to SLA. So I needed to do that. So I multitask while I'm doing things. And I do find that, especially being self-employed, it's really easy to work 12 or 15 hours a day. And I do get up from my computer and walk away from it, go out and play fetch with the dogs, you know, do things that will let me have a little break. Now, that does not mean I go and do housework during the middle of the day. You have to be very disciplined when you're self-employed and even when you're not to do things to stay on a schedule and to be serendipitous as well. So it's really finding a balance between those two things. And I'm working on the Getting Things Done so I get better. I don't know if you guys know about that book, but it's a great system and to help figure out how to get as much done in the shortest amount of time, but to do it well and to not go crazy while doing it. Okay.
Right. And I'm not as busy as Deb, that's for sure, but I think it really helps to set aside some time every day, every week, to say this is the time I'm going to spend on acquiring new skills, whether that's reading, whether that's posting to social networking sites or networking with other folks or going to events. I think you really have to plan, and you really have to say I'm going to set aside this time for that, or you won't do it.
Right, and I do, like I said, I'm passionate about what we do, and so I try to speak not only at conferences that are directly related to our profession, but I just spoke in February. I was invited to speak at Creatosphere, which is a digital asset management conference. I don't know how the person found me that organizes the conference, but she did. See, there's networking. And I spoke, I actually asked another friend who's a librarian at the UC Office of the President, University of California Office of the President, who does digital asset management, if she would co-present with me. And we were actually asked to present, why do you need a librarian on a DAM project, a digital asset management project? And now yesterday I just turned in an article on that same topic. So you can also repurpose content that you create or things that you do so that you're not recreating the wheel every time. And as we know, when we teach or present or write, we learn more than we ever share because we have to, condense it down into a smaller amount of things. So I just encourage you to fold it into your life, but also to have a life outside of work. And not live for work, but work for, not live for work, but work to live. No, I did that wrong. Whatever. So, okay. So any other questions? We have a few minutes.
I just want to make a comment. I'm seeing people talking about the volunteering and the internships. And yes, if you are, if you're working part-time, you do have more flexibility. But, a lot of places you can work, even if you're working full-time. For example, in my library, I've got people who come in on Saturdays who work full-time, and they may not come in every Saturday. Just coming in once a month or twice a month to work on a project can get you the experience that you need and be able to say that you've done this project. And also, in many times, you can find work that you can do remotely as well, depending on what the project is and what they're doing with it and what software they're using and so forth. So I think there's more options there, even if you are working full time.
Okay. So I see in the chat that somebody asked about not doing a double-page resume, double-sided, and it depends. If somebody does them, if it's more than 2 pages, I generally have people, they staple it one-sided, but if it's 2 pages, you can put at the bottom something like, continued on the other side. But I agree. I think that was, let's see, who was that wrote that? Elizabeth, I think. Yeah, she said, who thinks that resumes have to be 1 page long? So thanks, Elizabeth, for pointing out that it probably should just be one-sided. And then Deborah asked, what is the name of the book? Getting Things Done, and it's by David Allen. It's a great book. And there's also a website, and there's all kinds of other productivity tools, but his is one of the better ones that I've seen. And somebody else, Megan, confirmed that resumes don't need to be 1 page anymore. And Linda talked about, let's see, she volunteered at ISTE in San Diego to learn Adobe Remote, so that's great. And so if you are, Eileen is facilitating for info people, but if you are part of a professional association, they always need people to moderate for webinars, so that's also another skill to learn is moderation and the software that goes with it. And I'm looking to see that Mari said, or Mary, I'm not sure if it is Martinez, said that she's working in a new Spanish program at her library. And she's learning, okay, so I want to learn as much as possible about the proper approach. So my advice is don't be worried about going out on a limb. I'm not saying jump into the future blindly, but leap off the edge. I wrote an article about this many years ago in Information Outlook for SLA. Leaping off the edge is really important. Don't be so timid that you don't take chances. Now, I don't want you to fall flat on your face. None of us want to do that. But it's really important to prepare as much as we can, then take that leap of faith. And, take a risk. That's how we get to move forward because it's really exciting to think about how we can contribute more to our organizations. So, David, you have, let's see, David. Okay, Ellen has a comment for you.
You're better at navigating these windows than I am.
Okay, so I'll read it to you. It says, David, be aware that some library systems will not let you volunteer at the same library in which you also work. And that is true because it's an employment issue.
Absolutely.
So that's a really good point.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left, and I think we're going to go on to the next slide, and you can still post questions. Whoops. Let's see. Angela posted a question. I do not have a degree and want to know what would be the best way to approach this. Should I go back to school and earn my degree or take specific courses? Mind you, I'm in my late 40s and I'm home educating my daughter. Okay, so when I was younger and I had kids at home, we're empty nesters now, I spent a lot of time doing little things so that I could remain in contact with my network, whatever that it was, the local SLA chapter we have in the San Francisco Bay Area, the Bay Area Library and Information Network, and also I was my alumni of UC Berkeley's Library School. Well, I edited that newsletter. That was something I could pretty much do from home. So I could stay connected, I could add that to my resume, I could network, and I could still be around for my children. And so it's important but that only answers the volunteering part. As far as places to get education, if you look at these slides that we're showing now, we've got several, this alphabet soup, as you can see, of many organizations. So we hope that you'll look into these because AIIM, let me just tell you really quickly, is ECM, Enterprise Content Management. They have a great network on LinkedIn. AIIP, I'm active in that, Association of Independent Information Professionals. ARMA, as David mentioned, is Records Management. ASSIST is, oh boy, is that Competitive Intelligence? No, that's SCIP. I'm trying to remember what ASSIST stands for.
ASSIST. It's the former ASIS.
Okay.
I don't know what they're.
Information Services.
Well, it used to be the American Society of Information Science. But,
yeah, okay. And then we've got more. Here's ASSIST. Oops, do we have ASSIST on two slides? We do. Okay, and then SAA, Society of American Archivists, and there are chapters all over the country. SCIP, which is the Society of Competitive Intelligence Professionals, and SLA, and of course there's ALA and other things. So I would say look at these for continuing education opportunities. And lastly, a great place to learn skills that you might be lacking is Lynda, LYNDA.com. I think for $25 or $30 a month, unlimited, you can learn anything from SharePoint to creating advanced spreadsheets. So there's a lot of opportunities out there.
I also want to mention that many libraries have Lynda for free. You can basically use it if you were subscribed to that library's. If you have a library card, or use their
like
their
an
website.
Online database. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Great.
And I wanted to mention two other things before we talk about the next one. One was that a lot of the organizations that Deb was showing on the last two slides have local chapters, so you don't even have to join the national in a lot of cases. You can just go to local meetings, and that's, of course, great for networking in addition to learning, a whole new skill or a whole new language, basically. And then I also wanted to make just one last comment on Angela's question about being at home. More and more schools are offering virtual programs. San Jose State has moved into that totally, and I'm hearing that other schools are doing the same thing across the country. And so if you are a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad or whatever, you can take classes and not have to actually go anyplace. So I think that lends itself very well to going back to school and getting a degree. Plus you can control how many classes at a time you can handle if you've got other responsibilities at home.
And Simmons and other schools have distance classes. You don't have to actually be in a program to take those that are related. So we're running at the top of the hour here, or the bottom of the hour. So we just have this last slide. We hope you'll join us same time, same place on Tuesday, August 14th, when we're going to talk about resumes and developing your plan for successful career growth and advancement. Our emails are here. We have an emailing list that we'd love to have you on. I also have an e-newsletter that I would be happy to share with you. I won't sell or give your name to anybody, but I do write about all these different topics like document management, digital asset management, and that sort of thing. So, David, any parting words? Yeah,
we'd also love to hear about any experiences that you have, whether they're successful or not successful. We'd love to hear how people are doing, trying out some of these things, and what they found out there in the world. So please be in touch. Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, so much for your time today.